When I was about 12 or 13, I loved to read books. This was kind of a historical fact about me because the girls in my school were kind of mean, and I had unrestricted internet access till the age of like 10, which is, always a good idea. But this was during that cursed time of the internet where it wasn't hot to be Rory Gilmore and read books. This was that point in time where, in order to be a cool person, you knew what each of these symbols meant, and you had read literally every single book on this list. And these faces were very, very familiar to you because you basically survived on them. Now, where I lived, most of these books I couldn't actually get in a bookstore. So when I discovered online shopping, I went insane. And a lot of the books were disappointing, but then I heard of this author called Alice Oseman who had written all these stories about sexuality and identity and gender, which I was really interested in. So I read the PDF series. Now, to be clear, I was never an Alice Oseman super fan. Like, I just found Heartstopper endearing and cute and fluffy and impressive insofar as I found every graphic novel and every queer story just a little bit impressive. So I was excited to see, like, the world building and stuff and all of my favorite like characters in real time when I found out the TV show was being announced. Even if you have just the mildest connection to a story, knowing that these characters, which at like some point in your life, if it were even for 5 minutes, you truly enjoy, you're gonna see on screen is so exciting. Now, just to be clear, I never have appreciated identity politics in literature because the suggestion that a piece of art is meaningful not because it's well written or well crafted, but because it has minority characters and that's important or needed just infuriates me. This is not to say the differences don't matter, but labeling things and putting them in boxes seemed kind of limiting to me. Then I remembered this documentary I'd watched from the 90s called The Celluloid Closet, which just details the implications of lack of representation partly. It struck me how cool Heartstopper is, because when we see Charlie or Nick on screen and we see Olivia Colman play this ideal mother figure who just completely accepts her child for all of his faults and like even apologizes to him for not being accepting in any kind of way, it is just so like fantastical. Like it is the ideal dream of every queer child. But more than that, I think it just showcases excitement of infatuation. Like this scene. It was so heartbreaking and intentional. It reminded me of But I'm a Cheerleader and that one scene where they're both just watching the video together. And even like the color scheme of But I'm a Cheerleader seems like so similar to that of Heartstopper. And okay, fine. Did they have any right to use girls? Absolutely not. Is it slander to make this or Lagartland's most famous song? Completely. Is it anywhere near poetic as other queer masterpieces? Not true. But then I think of characters like Tao, and I think of how they just display something so fundamental that is lost in so many of these high school movies, and that's the aspect of loneliness. Both Tao and Charlie seem to share this kind of lack of self worth. With Tao, it's less obvious because he's kind of mean and stands up for himself. But with Charlie, it's like complete insecurity. And I like the fact that as writers, he's never criticized by the creators of the show for constantly needing validation. There's no point in the show that, Nick suddenly starts an argument with Charlie saying that, you're so emotionally exhausting and, I do like you. It's never a conflict. And I like the fact that they treat it like he's an actual teenage boy with emotions. Because I feel like what's lost in so many of these shows is the fact that they're teenagers and they experience loneliness. And that loneliness is so multifaceted. The presentation of relationships and loneliness, all of it is just so memorable. So I don't think what makes Heartstopper so great is the fact that it has inclusivity or like, even characterization well done. But because I think it just tells something that's so true of an emotion that we all feel but is never truly explored well in cinema. And that's young love.